Hello, Cymara Hashiv and Jew. It's Misha Joseph, Ananalaba. Bliana Urva. Bliana Urva. Happy New Year, because now we're in 2026. Today, I want to tell you that it's snowing outside. Let me show you how we say that. Right, you can see my screen here, and you can see what we've just said. Bliana Urva, which is Happy New Year. The word for snow in Gaelic is sneach. Sneach. Be careful, there's a Y sound in there, and I recommend you go to the Learn Gaelic dictionary and you can hear the women say it, because as you know, there's so many variations in Gaelic. It's better to keep with the standard which is being offered to you. Sneacht. Ha sneacht on and Jew. Now, the word for outside, I've written just next to the sentence there, and you can see there it says amui, but we don't usually say that in Gaelic. Usually you just say it's snowing. It would be a little bit strange to say it's snowing outside. For comparative purposes, you could say it, but you'd need to change the order of the sentence and it would look a little bit strange. Let me show you. It would have to be ha sneach on. That part would be the same. And then amui would go the next part, and then anju. But it's not very common. I mean, when Gaels say it's snowing, they're usually standing in it. But for comparative purposes, that's how you would say it. Okay, amui. But don't worry too much about that because you're not going to use it. So ha shnach and Jew. And then the past, let me just change that to va. Okay, va. You can see there. Okay, va shnach on and Jew. This is anje is yesterday. It's not anju, which is today. Okay, it's anje, which is yesterday. So this is the past. Va shnach on anje. Now you can hear there that the ANN is kind of like an own sound, and you might recognize it from other constructions like own. So own. Va shnach, and that D at the end becomes like a G sound. Shnach. It's quite hard to get your teeth around that with that Y sound in there. Shnach and J. So we have ha shnach and anju, va shnach and J. And I've just written down that pattern to say some of the other things. And you should recognize this one immediately because we've just said it. But there's other ones you can use. Ha ushka on, it's raining. And of course you can add in anju for today. Or you can say va ushka on if you want as well. Right, let's just look at this again, just so it's completely clear. So I was saying that and you, that means today, and J is yesterday if you use the va version. The one here about the training ushke on the training, so you know that's the same construction. This one here, there's frost. The pronunciation of this word is a little bit confusing. Think of the name Roy in English. You know Roy, like Roy from EastEnders, for example. I think is Roy in EastEnders? I don't know, but anyway, and add a kind of G sound at the end. Ha roig on. There's frost. Ha roig on. Okay, so right, this little word here, kio, is the last one. Ha kio on. It's foggy. Ha kio on. Okay, so that takes us nicely through all of these. I hope that's quite clear. And now let's move on. Over the holidays, I had a few communications from you. Thank you for that. And I just want to touch on them a little bit. Well, first of all, thanks to all of you who wrote to me to say Happy Christmas, Happy New Year. It's always nice to know you're listening. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy these clips. Now, a few of you were asking me to do Bible readings or readings from the Liturgy of the Hours of the Catholic Church, because you know that I had recorded the Rosary. I couldn't do that, and I need to explain why. There's a few very complex reasons for this. It's not just about my own time, because nothing would make me happier than to do that. So I just want to tell you, first of all, let's just for a moment focus on the Liturgy of the Hours. This, as you know, is the breviary with all of the bits in it, and it's all in English. Now, there isn't a Gaelic version of this, at least not an authorized Gaelic version. Of course, bits could be translated, but this is completely copyright by the Catholic Church. Wherever you are in the world, whichever breviary you have, if you just open the first few pages, you'll see it says copyrights. Yep. It says here, compilation 1974 copyright, the hierarchies of Australia, England and Wales original. And it's not only that, it's because they use psalms from a particular place, so they're copyrighted separately. So this is a no-go, unfortunately. I mean, I could quote the occasional reading from it, but I wouldn't be able to do anything over a week or over a particular festival. And any translation that I make would be my translation, not theirs, which means it wouldn't be authorized. And I'm not sure I would want to risk that. The other reason, just staying with the Liturgy of the Hours, there are mass readings that you can get in this little booklet, little Gaelic booklet, which is produced by the Diocese of the Highlands and Islands, I think it is. But this is pre-1962. So again, it's authorized but out of date. And of course, probably completely copyrights. I'm sure of that. Doesn't mention it here, but I don't have permission to use it. So although it has mass readings and these things, I can't. A one-off might be okay, but not over a festive period. Other issues, I have two Gaelic Bibles. Okay, one, notice the spelling there, which is with a U, a little bit different. This one is from 1953, and I have checked, completely copyrighted by the Bible Society of Scotland. And even if I wanted to use it, the text is so small. Look at that. Like, I could barely read it. So I can't use that. And then, of course, the version that you probably know is this one. I think this is Professor Meek's version, if I remember correctly. And again, completely copyrighted. These are the Protestant Bibles. I don't think there's a Catholic one that I know of. So, all copyrighted. So I can't use them. Now, there was one thing that I found which you might be able to use. I know I didn't venture to use it. It's something that you would have to check. Oh, by the way, that's my. See, I have a Spanish breviary, breviario, Liturgy de las Horas. I have loads of these in different languages, but as I mentioned, no Gaelic. Yeah, there is something, two things that you could try to use. One is the Episcopal Church's Gaelic liturgy. It does exist. They have different versions from 1970 and 1982. Now they will be in copyright, but I think probably there's more justification for using them. I don't think they would quite be as upset. I don't know. I did ask them about their 1895 version, which I'm going to show you now. Right. This is the Book of Common Prayer. Okay, a little bit different, of course. It's the Anglican version. So you can see the Book of Common Prayer in Scots Gaelic. It's all there. And it says here, it's got a little bit about how it first came out in 1662, published 1794, etc., etc. So it is very old. So there's a question there as to whether it would be worth it, because I'm not sure how up to date the Gaelic words would be. It says here the translation used here made in 1895. Okay, so it is there, and you could have a look at that. You can go through it. It's on archive.org as well. There's also links there to the up-to-date liturgy, which I was mentioning a moment ago, which is 1970 and 1982. I'll just show you that one. Yeah, this is the 1970 liturgy there as well. Okay, these are all on a website which is called justus.anglican.org. So there is stuff around that you can have a look at. That's for sure. And I'll just make a little note of this website address in case you want to go looking for it. Right. I've just written these links on the bottom there where you can go and see the different liturgies in Gaelic. One is justus.anglican.org, the other one is scotland.anglican.org. They'll take you both to the 1970 version, and if you play around with the pages and the menus on there, you'll find the 1982 version as well. So if you are looking for Gaelic liturgy specifically, you'll find the Episcopal churches on these two sites. I'll put them in the show notes as well. I did actually approach the Episcopal Church to ask about this translation, the Gaelic one from 1895, just to see if it really is out of copyright. I mean, I couldn't use it anyway because it was so old. And I think the Gaelic, and it's probably more antiquated, especially, well, not good for learners. But they did come back to me, and this is what they said. So the 1929 Scottish Prayer Book, that's the English one, although one of our authorized liturgies is no longer in copyright, so you're free to use extracts. We would ask, however, that you indicate the source of what you reproduce is the Scottish Prayer Book of 1929. And then they go on to talk about the Gaelic one. They say the Gaelic version you mention, which is a translation of the English Book of Common Prayer, is not an authorized liturgy of the Scottish Episcopal Church as such, but dating from 1895 would similarly now seem to be out of the copyright period. So you could quote from that. So it is interesting. There is a Gaelic Book of Common Prayer now, depending on, I think, the Episcopal Church's own way that they work. The Book of Common Prayer, of course, is the Church of England's version. So the up-to-date Scottish Gaelic one from 1970 and 1982 will be very different, I think, from this, which is the Book of Common Prayer, because I think the Episcopals now have their own Scottish version that they use. But it's good to know that it's there anyway. And that was from Sandra Brindley, and that was in 2018. I think that's when she sent this. Let me just have a look. Yeah, there we are. She sent that on the 24th of January 2018, saying that, yeah, you could quote from the Scottish Book of Common Prayer from 1929, but noting that the Gaelic liturgy is not an authorized version. Okay, it was just simply a translation that somebody did for some reason. Still, though, nice to see liturgy there. So that's a very good thing. Right, there are a few workarounds to this, things that we could do together if you're interested. There's a few versions of the Bible which are no longer copyright. One is the John Nelson Darby translation, which is a Protestant version from the 19th century. So I could take bits out of that and try to come up with something now and again if you're looking for religious texts. There's also the Internet Bible, which is in the public domain, and the Catholic Internet Bible, but you need to keep in mind that nothing is authorized. So anything that you read would simply be my translation, and you should not be considering that as anything official. So that's a possibility. We could definitely work with those if you are looking for something spiritual or religious based. The other thing, just to let you know, is on the internet, there are sites like this. Right, this is another site called massinEveryLanguage.com, and it has mass translations. Now, when I say mass, of course, I'm talking about the Catholic liturgy of the Mass. You need to be very careful with this. These are not authorized. So you can see there, Scottish Gaelic. Has it been reviewed even? No. So I don't know who's written this, or even if maybe it's a rough translation from the Irish, maybe, or perhaps someone has taken the time to go through it. More than likely, I suspect that it's something very rough. So you can have a look at it, massinEveryLanguage.com, if you really are trying to find Gaelic liturgy. You might find you some peace, if you're trying to get to sleep one night. But you shouldn't be relying on it as anything official from the church. All right, so that's that. But it is good to know it's there. It is good to know that it's there, and there's loads of stuff like this on the internet. It has all the prayers, but be very careful, because as far as I know, masses in Scottish Gaelic are incredibly rare, so there isn't much these days that's written liturgically in Gaelic, except maybe that old book that I showed you earlier, the green one, the pre-1962 one. That's the only one that I know of that's kicking around. that you might find. Right, so that's just a little update. So you can see there that most or all of the liturgies are all copyrighted, including the Bible, so I can't just lift them and quote them. Bible.com has a few Gaelic versions. You could almost certainly have a look at those as well. I think all of the ones, or at least the 2 Bible versions I mentioned, are on there, so that would be a good resource. I did a video clip a long time ago about learning Gaelic with Bible.com. They would be a really good resource, but remember, you can't use those publicly, so you can't get and use YouTube clips with them. But it might be possible, with the out-of-date, non-copyright Bibles now, for me to translate a few things, just to do some spiritual stuff for relaxation now and again. A lot of work, but that's why I can't do it regularly. And remember, anything I do produce liturgically is not authorized versions, except the Rosary. That came from this. And of course, the Rosary is not a copyright prayer. Right, so there we are. That's an update. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I'll be back soon. See you. Ci riandresta.